A few weeks back I made a video called Why Do People Hate Starfield? And overall it was fairly well received, with plenty of people appreciating me bringing up some of the genuine concerns about the game in a civilised way, but also making jokes about the console wars and the more out there takes. However, not everyone was happy with the video. Some were just in the camp of being people who had negative feelings to Starfield, as I expected, but what surprised me a little bit was the amount of comments I had from people claiming that there were no negative opinions about the game at all. Additionally, some of the comments asked where I was getting this stuff from, or what negative opinions there could possibly be, which is a real big sign that they decided to leave a comment without watching the video, as that's literally all it was about. So I decided I want to whip up a video that's the opposite of that one. Literally, why do people love Starfield? Where I get to go over reasons why myself and many others are excited for the game. And then I get to see what sort of unusual comments this will receive. Let's find out. We're going to start off by talking about the aspect that I see getting the most excitement from prospective players: exploring new places. One of the big appeals of Bethesda games has been the chance to explore an interesting world with strange creatures, colourful characters and engaging environments. Bethesda almost always does a great job of making interesting places to explore, so it shouldn't be a surprise that when I asked my community what they were most hyped for in Starfield, this was what most of the replies were about. A large appeal of gaming in general is escapism, and there's no greater form of that than getting to experience walking around a fictitious zone in first person, seeing the flora and interacting with the inhabitants of the land. Starfield will present this experience to an even greater magnitude than most games can manage, giving us whole systems worth of planets to explore, instead of simply a small region of a single celestial body. You'll get to walk through the cyberpunk-inspired streets of Neon, scout the vast wilderness around the walls of Aquila City, and strut past the expensive skyscrapers of New Atlantis. We only have a small number of predetermined locations revealed, but each appears to have so many places to venture into, and I'm sure there will be no end of secrets or small details to uncover once we get our hands on the game. And on top of all the fixed locations, we also have procedural generation, which, while concerning for some, is of great excitement to others. We have the potential of finding something new on every planet we explore, and with 1,000 planets, that's a lot of new stuff to be finding. There's also the scanning system and resource gathering to try and encourage players to keep venturing forth, as there's always going to be more rewards to reap. Maybe going to every single planet is a bit daunting, but that's fine, you can make other goals. I've already seen people talking about wanting to visit all the moons in the game, or just focus on the planets in our own system. While we are still largely in the speculation stage for a lot of things, exploration is something we all know will be a key part of the game, and that's got a lot of players hyped. Character building is something I've always been quite passionate about, and I know I'm not alone in this. While it can certainly be rewarding to see a pre-designed character go through their set journey, there's something I've always enjoyed so much more about making my own characters. Playing as pre-designed characters often allows for more direct writing and interesting stories. I mean, hell, I just beat my second playthrough of Chained Echoes, and was nearly moved to tears at a couple of the character arcs in that game. But even when playing as those characters, it always feels more like I'm just guiding them on their journey, as opposed to doing it myself. By creating your own character, it truly becomes a part of you. You get to choose what your past was like, you get to shape the decisions in your future, and you get to be you, even if that version of you is one with a giant laser and jetpack. As someone who's made well over 100 character builds on this channel alone, I don't think it will be a surprise to hear that character builds are going to be a staple piece of content for me to make once Starfield is out. And I have high hopes for builds in the game. We've already seen a decent chunk of a character creator, and there's a lot to get hyped about, so I'll go over each in turn. First, there's the background section. Here we get to choose an aspect of our past that not only gives us a bit of narrative framework to work off of, but also a boost to some starting skills. Sometimes I worry about backgrounds in RPGs. They can often be a bit overbearing and completely define your character, but I'm getting good vibes from the way Starfield has implemented this. They seem to mostly focus on what your occupation was before the start of the game, and that's something easy enough to work into a custom backstory, while still providing plenty of wiggle room. If you choose the chef background, that's not exactly going to limit your character to non-combat quests and turn the game into some kind of cooking simulator, but it may well help you on a few side quests here and there and give you some inspiration to work from. Maybe you want to be a gourmand who tired of Earth's limited flavours and now are seeking to explore the rest of space, looking for that one taste which will finally satisfy your palate. Or maybe you want to move away from your past. You could have been a gangster before, living a life of crime in order to make your way in the world, but now you're looking to redefine yourself as a law-abiding citizen, with dreams of one day owning a penthouse in New Atlantis for all your hard work. Your methods may have changed from your youth, but the experience you gained from your dark past could still come in handy in a tight situation. I think you get the idea. I'm super on board with backgrounds and see a great deal of potential for them. So let's move on to traits. These have some similarities to backgrounds, as they do give bonuses and some relate to your past. Stuff like Raised Enlightened gives a clear look into your past and can also work as a building block if you've been struggling with writing a backstory. But others are more general and don't have as clear a bearing on what your past actions were. Picking Introverted as trait gives some kind of idea to your personality, but says very little about where you've come from. And these are just the story elements of traits. They also come with both positive and negative effects. The religious traits will give you access to a chest full of items, but can't be combined with other religions, giving you some free items, but having to make the choice of which belief system you will go with for the rewards, while forsaking others. Whereas the Neon Street Rat trait grants extra dialogue options and some better rewards for missions on Neon, but does also add additional crime bounty by other factions. The best part about traits is that you get to mix and match, meaning you can be an introverted neon street kid who was raised enlightened, or maybe instead you're an extroverted empath with alien DNA. The variety of options here is what really gives traits their strength and allows for so many different small choices right at the very start of the game. The final thing I want to talk about with character building is skills. This is more of your standard character progression system, getting a skill point each level and shaping what you're good at over time. A lot of this stuff seems fairly straightforward, with skills like stealth and lasers not really needing much explanation. But there's still a few gems hidden away here, with neurostrikes making your punches more powerful than most weapons, and a host of starship related skills to likely improve your building options or capabilities as a pilot. While I think that skills in this game will mostly be straightforward stuff that we can expect, I don't mind it too much, as we have so many great combinations of options with initial creation, meaning that the same skills can be used in various playthroughs, with them still feeling different. I mentioned it just now, so should probably go into it a little more. Shipbuilding. For plenty of players, this is it. The reason they want to play Starfield is to build a fleet of ships, each more extravagant than the last. We've seen plenty of great examples of shipbuilding, with my personal favourite so far, of course, being the HMS Platypus. Bethesda Games haven't really given us vehicles to control before, and while there aren't apparently going to be any land vehicles, I'm more than happy with just having spaceships to pilot. The actual systems around space combat and flight seem interesting, with resource management being a key component of being a skilled pilot, being my personal high point. But on top of that, the actual movement of space combat and the semi-VATS-like targeting you get to do from your ship likely have more people excited. What's much more exciting for me is the actual building of the ship. The modular sort of design is brilliant, and should allow for so many opportunities. Maybe you want to build a giant freighter with several cargo holds and massive fuel tanks, in order to carry goods long distance, but sacrifice on weapons to make space for more valuables. Or perhaps you want to go with a tiny little ship, a nimble thing focused on being lightweight in order to be as fast as possible, able to outmaneuver in a dogfight, or quickly escape against any massive warships. Massive warships which you could make. There's just so many possibilities, and I'm already planning on having ship builds be another form of content I make, hopefully tying them into character builds, so that I can recommend different types of ships for different types of characters. The synergy has me real excited. But shipbuilding isn't even the only kind of build we get. We also have outposts. While I know some people have flashbacks to the dreaded "another settlement needs your help" from Fallout 4, I also know that a lot of players love settlement building, and a huge amount of the 76 community stick around in that game purely for the base building options. And one thing that set 76 apart from 4 was the build anywhere sort of attitude, which has fortunately been carried over to Starfield, meaning we won't have the problem of all our bases being clumped together in the corner of the map. Unless you want that. The benefits of outposts haven't fully been revealed yet, but we know there's extractors which harvest useful materials, meaning there'll be some real incentive to construct outposts for all players. I think what builders will be most delighted by is the fly cam. Now you don't have to try and build everything in first person, relying on just what your character can see, but you instead get a top-down view of things, so you don't have to go in and out of the build menu 50 times, trying desperately to align your structure just right. Instead, you get the top-down camera to easily place things in a way you couldn't before. And speaking about ease of placement, structures stick together naturally, so you don't have to fight with that either. If you want to make a long hallway, you can just place them all next to each other without worrying further about millimeter precise placing. This might just be the thing that gets me fully into the building community this time around. And keep in mind that outposts aren't just resource gathering locations. You can build them as homes for your character to stay in, find a scenic view that you like on some backwater planet, and you can make your base there. I love the idea of it all, and I already foresee so many hours being lost to building beautiful outposts on empty planets, and then taking photos of them, because there's also a photo mode. I've not put that as like a full thing here, but I'm looking forward to the photo mode. I do like wallpapers every month, it's fun. I love photo modes. I love them. Go photo modes. The final general point in favour of Starfield is that it's a brand new Bethesda game. Not only that, but a brand new single-player Bethesda game. Not only that, but a brand new single-player Bethesda game that isn't even a part of an already existing IP. While there certainly are players who are upset that Bethesda's next new game isn't set in the world of Fallout or the Elder Scrolls, and even some upset that Starfield is single-player, for a lot of us it's exciting to be getting a new Bethesda game that's both single-player and isn't just building off of existing lore, and therefore somewhat restricted by it. I know there will be jokes about Bethesda breaking the law constantly, but they still do have to work around the framework when it comes to those series, even if they're happy to bend it here and there. With Starfield, they get to set themselves completely fresh rules, and build a universe the way they want to, without having to worry at all about treading on things that were established in a previous game years back. While this can be quite a daunting task, it's also a real freeing one, and we'll get to see what lore modern Bethesda creates on their own. And even without the new IP side of things, it's been nearly 8 years since Bethesda last released a single-player game, with Fallout 4 having been released in November of 2015. While Fallout 76 came out a few years later, plenty of players fully ignored that one, meaning they may not have picked up a fresh Bethesda experience for the best part of a decade. There's something about Bethesda games which a lot of other games just don't have. Being in the world, getting to interact with it and make all your own choices about where you go and what you do, these all sound a little vague to be honest, and I can't quite form the words to explain why Bethesda games often feel different to those of other developers, but I feel it's one of those things that, where if you know it, you know it. Oh, switching between first and third person and both feeling good, that's actually one solid point that I can clearly explain, that I think Bethesda does well, and I've yet to see another team really pull off. Anyway, just in general, the fact that we're getting a new Bethesda game has a lot of people excited, and it ties into the final, personal point for me. YouTube is my full-time job, and for a while now, it's not been going great. I'm very much in sort of the Bethesda niche with my channel, with Skyrim, Fallout 4 and 76 being the main games that people have subscribed for over the years. I've tried branching out into other stuff, but it hasn't gone too well. For quite a long time now, I've basically just been waiting for Starfield to launch, and with almost a year's worth of delays, it's been quite the long wait. In that time, I went from being a somewhat relevant channel with strong audiences for a couple of games, to one who has often struggled to get just 1,000 views on videos. I have not been truly successful in the long term as a creator for years. The only reason I'm still doing this full time is because I'm a very frugal person who specifically saved away for years so that I could give a real go to doing this YouTube thing as my career rather than just as a little hobby. But if I'm going to grow and have this continue as my job past this year, I need a new game to cover that's actually relevant, and Starfield looks to be just that. Above all else, the reason I'm excited for Starfield is because it's a chance for me to keep my dream job. If things go well, Starfield could let my channel reach new heights, ones where I may be even financially viable enough to explore other passions of mine at the same time as keeping the channel afloat. I could go from a YouTuber that has a handful of fans to one who actually gets brought up and mentioned in conversations online. I know I'm technically talking about personal fame and fortune here, but I'm going to be honest, I like a portion of them. I don't need the full pie, but I'd sure like a big enough slice to keep myself fed. And Starfield might just be that slice that I've been looking for. And there we have it, just some of the main reasons that people are already in love with a game which isn't out yet. Fingers crossed Starfield will turn out as great as we hope, but it really is a case of waiting and seeing. In the meantime, I've got a few more pre-release video ideas to keep myself busy with, so if you want to see what they are, do make sure to subscribe, and also click that annoying notification bell thing and select all notifications, because that's a system that makes sense. I do also post my videos on my Discord server and over on Twitter, or X, or whatever it's been changed to when you're watching this. Links to both of those can be found in the description. Liking, commenting, and sharing are always appreciated, so thanks to those of you who do those things, and of course, a huge thank you to all my patrons and channel members who have done an amazing job of ensuring I don't bleed too much cash while the channel has been in the mud. As always, thanks for watching. Sarge out.